Hey, hi, hello, and welcome. Today we are going to be going through my top 25 books that I read in 2025. This was a really hard list to narrow down and fit in an order. So I wrote it all out on my iPad, wrote it on here because when I originally wrote it, it has changed since then. So, and I knew that was gonna happen. That's why I wanted it like physically written out so I could like move everything around every which way. But yeah, this was really hard to pick and like rank ones above each other. So starting towards the bottom, which I'm gonna go 25 through 1. Starting towards the bottom are like 4.5 star reads, and then as we go up, we're getting into the 5-star reads, and then number 1 is obviously going to be my top favorite book this whole year, which was also extremely hard to pick exactly which one that was going to be. So I kind of went back and forth between that a lot, but I think I've finally narrowed down my list. I'm not going to like think about it anymore because I'm going to overthink it and change things around, and we're just going to run with this one. And like I've said in my last video, if you watched that, we're in the process of moving, so a lot of these I don't have with me. I have a very, very select few on this list physically that are still here right now. Some of them I don't own, and then the rest of them are at the new place. So let's just get right into it. Number 25 on my list is Holiday Ever After by Hannah Grace. I actually really enjoyed this book. I know some people don't really like her whole Maple Hills series that's with Icebreaker and everything. I enjoyed those, but I actually really enjoyed Holiday Ever After. Clara is the main character, and her family runs a toy company, so it's very Nutcracker-esque kind of. She goes to this small town to kind of patch things up with her company that they kind of messed up, and brought this town through the ringer on social media and everything. So she goes to kind of patch things up and meets a guy and ends up falling in love. Obviously, the whole Hallmark movie, but it was really cute, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I loved the subtle parts of Christmas. Like, it took place around Christmas, but the whole thing didn't revolve around it. Like, there was still a storyline. The characters had great development with each other and everything, and yeah, there was just like a little bit of Christmas sprinkled in, so I really enjoyed that. Number 24 is Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series. I finished this whole series this year, so there's a few on here on this list. So Reckless, 4th book, that's Theo and Winter's book. I really, really liked their dynamic. There were some jaw-dropping moments for me, and when things kind of got explained a little more, I was like, that makes sense, because I could not see that happening with like how we were getting the perception of the characters. I was like, that doesn't seem like something they would do, but yeah, loved it. Accidental pregnancy trope, but I actually really enjoyed it. So number 24 is Reckless. Number 23 is actually Powerless by Elsie Silver, which is the 3rd book in the Chestnut Springs series, and this one is Sloane and Jasper's book, and Jasper's the hockey player that's got taken in by the family, so he's not a real brother, but he's like one, and then Sloane is their cousin, so they kind of grew up together. They had this childhood relationship already, and they had some conflict because of that, and because they're like family, but they're really not. So I really, really enjoyed seeing their relationship progress into something from childhood to like a romantic relationship, especially because she was with like a dirtbag that she almost married. He saved her, and then, you know, she's just dealing with some traumas from that. So yeah, really enjoyed that. So that is my number 23 pick. Number 22 is Catching Fire in the Hunger Games series. I read the entire series this year after Sunrise on the Reaping came out. I read that like immediately and then wanted to continue that whole series in the order that it takes place in. So started with that, read all the way through. So there's some Hunger Games books on here as well. So 22 is Catching Fire, just because it's so nostalgic, like a part of the original 3. But I was just so intrigued and obsessed with, especially after reading Sunrise on the Reaping, getting all of those little Easter eggs that kind of point back to a lot of the books, and a lot of them were with Catching Fire. So there was just a lot of little Easter eggs and little things that when you really thought about it, it's like, oh, that connects to that and that connects to that. So for that reason, because there were so many of those in this one, that is why Catching Fire is on my list. Number 21 is The Assassin's Blade, the novellas from the Throne of Glass series. I am still reading this. I just finished reading Throne of Glass, and now I'm starting on the second one, Crown of Midnight. But I decided to read The Assassin's Blade first before Throne of Glass. So I'm very glad that I did, just by getting to know that storyline of chronological storyline. I think that's really going to help me. I'm kind of interested to see, I'm reading on where the books end up and see how like this would have fit in with the other arguments that people have for place-wise of reading this. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out. But I'm glad I read it first, and this is ending up on here because I really enjoyed the writing. It kind of the little stories, I think, is what helped get me into wanting to read it, because the writing is very well done, and because there's such short stories in here, things were like a little more fast-paced, and I just kept wanting to read it more and more, which then led me to like want to actually keep continuing on with the series, like one after the other, instead of doing what I'm very famous for, and that's reading a book in the series and then not reading the rest of them right away. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to reading the rest of the series. This is the first time that I've read any of these, especially her books. The only other book I've read by her is A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I have not read any of the others in that series either. So going into this, that was the only other book I'd read by her, and I do agree with Nick that this series is a little easier for me to get into, just because it's a little easier to understand. So number 20 is The Risk by Elle Kennedy. This is the second book in the Briar University series. This one follows Brenna Jensen, who is the coach's daughter, and then Jake Connolly, who is a player for Harvard, not Briar. So it was really interesting to see their relationship come to be, because she is a diehard Briar and diehard hockey fan because of her dad. She's really into the sport. She's actually like going into like sports media, I think that's what it is, specifically in hockey, and she knows her stuff, but because she's a woman, a lot of people think she doesn't. But so it was really interesting to see that relationship evolve and come to be, since they are rival enemies. But I loved their relationship. They're one of my favorites. So Number 20 is The Risk. And then that leads me into number 19 on my list, which is The Play. And this one is number 3 in the series. This is Demi. Every time I read this and I was reading her name, I kept saying Demi because of Secret Lives, and it's actually pronounced Demi because I think I started listening to the audiobook a little bit too. Or no, it's because they rhymed something in it with her name, and the only way the rhyme works is that's how you know her name is actually pronounced Demi, like Demi Lovato. Demi and Hunter Davenport. And I really enjoyed seeing their relationship evolve because he is like a huge player that's very much known that he's a huge playboy, and he was quite the opposite with her. He was actually like taking a form of celibacy, an act of celibacy, promise with himself, and so that was really interesting to see how that evolved for him, because that was the opposite of how he was acting before. So then their friendship truly grew first, versus anything more attraction wise. So number 18 is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This is the first book in that series, and this one follows Sarah and her husband, I believe it's Adam, and he's accused of murdering his mistress, and she is a very good lawyer, so she ends up being his lawyer. I don't want to like spoil it too much, but you end up finding out who the murderer is, and it was so many jaw-dropping moments, and then the ending was also phenomenal, and you kind of see how that gets left off, because when I read this I knew that the second one was coming out, so as I was reading it I was interested to see how the second one was going to come to play, but you get that idea towards the end. But yeah, she writes amazing thrillers and mysteries. My jaw is just always on the ground with hers. So number 17 is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I actually just went to go see the movie because that just came out. Really good. I loved how they did that. I loved the little Easter eggs. There were some slight changes between the book and the movie, but I think those changes worked for what they needed. The endings were slightly different too, which I appreciated, just because I feel like with a thriller like this, when you have read the book, which a lot of people did going into the movie, you know what's gonna happen, so that kind of takes that element of surprise out of it. So it was nice that they changed up a few little things just so that you as a viewer can still have some of those plot twists and everything. But if you didn't know, The Housemaid is about Nina Winchester and her husband Andrew hire a nanny, Millie, and she's kind of getting this second chance out of jail and everything, so she really needs this job. She's a live-in nanny, so she has a place to stay, and then things kind of get taken for a turn. You think Millie is she's kind of a psychopath, and she just wreaks absolute chaos on Millie's life and makes her life so much more difficult. So you kind of are portrayed that Nina is the bad guy almost, but lots of good plot twists in there. And yeah, really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the book, really enjoyed the movie. Have not read any of the others yet, so excited to continue this series on. Number 16 is Love and Gelato. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I liked this book. It was such a fast-paced book, and it kept me wanting to keep going. This book is about Lena, who is over in Italy with her dad that she doesn't really know. She's staying with him. Doesn't really know him a whole lot because her mom just passed away, so she's having to go over there. So there's some kind of mysteries that she's uncovering and learning more about her mom and her dad's relationship together, because her mom didn't really talk about him a whole lot. So there's the whole level of mystery and going on. It's not really a mystery, but it gives you that adventure that they're going on. And she meets a neighbor kid named Ren. They kind of hit it off, fall in love a little bit. So it was super, super cute, super fast paced. And I just really loved it. For some reason, it just kept me thinking about this book for a few weeks after I read it. So there is a movie. I attempted to watch it because I was just still thinking about it so much, but I did not like the movie at all. I maybe got like maybe 15-20 minutes in, and then I turned it off. So I was a little sad about that, because it's like when you just keep thinking about it, you wanted to get more of that fix. So I was hoping to like watch the movie and enjoy it, but yeah, didn't really like it. But the book, love it. Need to read the rest of the series. So number 15 is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was a reread for me this year, but I still absolutely loved it. Had me laughing. Truly has the name Funny Story in it for a reason. But this is about Daphne and Miles. They were in relationships and their partners ended up getting together with each other. So both these couples, Daphne and Miles, partners, ended up marrying each other. And then Daphne and Miles are just left on the wayside, and Daphne didn't have a place to live because she was about to marry him and lived with him. So after that got called off, she obviously didn't have a place to live. So she ends up moving in with Miles since he was in the same predicament as her. And she is a librarian. She kind of is doing this whole readathon event at the library, planning that. And she is planning on moving away to a completely different location, to a completely different area, and getting a library position somewhere else just to get away from everything after that event was over. But then Miles ends up taking her on several adventures, shows her the town. You know, she makes more friends. She didn't really have any other friends before this. Like, all of her friends were her exes. So yeah, and then they ended up hitting it off. Number 14 is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This kind of takes place in the 20s, I believe. It's like 1920s Hollywood. She's a Hollywood star. You basically read about her entire life. So most of it is told from her perspective, but there are moments of the present time where this other lady comes in. She's a journalist and she's writing a piece about her. Evelyn never lets people write about her life, and for some reason she wants this lady only to write a piece about her. So most of the story is told from her perspective, that she's kind of doing in this interview and telling her everything to get her life story. But yeah, it's quite interesting. She did have 7 husbands, and when I went into it, I was like, this is going to be very intriguing to see why there were 7 husbands, but it made sense. Some of them she was young, some of them was a ploy, like many things are in Hollywood. But yeah, you kind of see this whole life written out, and it was very, very interesting, and Taylor Jenkins Reid does a fabulous job with her writing, so absolutely loved it. Number 13 is Summer in the City by Alex Astor. This is her first adult romance. Usually she writes fantasy. So this is her first adult romance, and I read it immediately after it came out. I loved it so much I actually annotated it. It's a little hard to see because I got the sprayed edges version and all of the tabs are like pink, but I annotated it a lot. Loved it. It is very much like a 2000s rom-com-esque, and It was super funny. Like, it was so good that I even like color coordinated tabs with what I was annotating, which is not something I usually do. Annotating in and itself is something I don't always do with books. Like, I have to really like the book. So the fact that this got color coordinated tabs for certain things just kind of says it all. This one is about Elle and Parker. Elle is a screenwriter, so she's in New York for the summer only to finish writing her screenplay. She's kind of in a writer's block era, but she's trying to get through it. She has met Parker before, runs into him. He ends up being her neighbor currently, and she just like absolutely hates him. But they end up spending time together. He's trying to give her these experiences so that she can have something more to write about, and the rest is history. Number 12 is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I loved this. It was such a summer read, summer vibes, reading by the lake. Like, I just can't with her covers. They're so gorgeous. Like, absolutely gorgeous. But this kind of follows along in the Every Summer After. It's not a series, but not that you have to read that first, but I would recommend reading Every Summer After first before this, just because the main character Alice in here has gone to the same lake as the Florrick brothers where they live. She vacationed there across the lake, and she has seen them like on the lake as she was younger. She never really like talked to them, the Florrick brothers and Percy, but she had seen them. She is a photographer. She'd taken this iconic picture, which is the picture on the front, and that's the Florrick brothers and Percy. So now that they're older, Percy and them are still in that relationship, but Charlie, the older brother, is single, and he meets Alice. He's kind of taking care of this place that her and her grandma are going up to. Alice goes back to the lake house with her grandmother that her grandmother's friends own. They would go up there every summer. So it's both nostalgic for both her and her grandmother. Her grandmother has gone through some health things. She's just trying to get her out of the house, and Alice is kind of in a rut, in a stuck position with her career and everything, so she just needs some time away. The lake house is across the lake from the Florrick brothers' house, so she kind of runs into Charlie many times, and she realizes that he is the boy from this iconic picture that Alice had taken all those summers ago. So she kind of had seen them across the lake, never interacted with them, and so she kind of keeps hanging out with him. He gets her out and explores the town and the lake more, and it was so good. It was just so good. I think I'm gonna have to reread this, honestly, next summer, because I think this might be one where I need to like reread it and annotate. That's how much I like this book. So number 11 is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This book had my jaw on the ground for like half of the book. So good. I'm just gonna read the description that comes up on Google, because I have realized that when I explain mystery thriller books, I'm very bad at explaining what happens because I don't want to give anything away, and then I end up not knowing what to say. So I'm just gonna read what it says. So it says, it is a family thriller about 3 estranged siblings who reunite after their mother's death to assort her estate, only to discover a disturbing VHS tape showing their father covered in blood, forcing them to confront a dark secret from their past. Number 10 is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like I said, I read the Hunger Games series, and this one is about Snow's life as a teenager when he was growing up and in school. It was just very fascinating to see how things had changed with the Hunger Games. It was really, really fascinating to see his, what did they call it? His evil arc, kind of, I guess, because in the book, he was great. He was a very nice person. And he fell in love with Lucy Gray, who was a tribute. So, things kind of came to a twist because obviously from what we had seen in the original 3, that President Snow is an evil person. So I really enjoyed seeing how that came to be and learning more about that. Number 9 is Heartless, which is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. This one is Cade and Willa. Willa is becomes his nanny. She's Summer's best friend. So he is a single dad. So it's the single dad trope. He's slightly older than her, I believe. She becomes his live-in nanny over the summer and they connect. And I really, really liked this one because of Cade's dynamic. Because in all of the other books, we see that he's very like cold. Like the title says, he's perceived as heartless. So I really enjoyed this one simply because we see the other side of him with everything. So number 8 is The Perfect Divorce by Geneva Rose, and this is the second one that follows The Perfect Marriage. So I'm just going to read this one as well. This one follows Sarah as she navigates a messy divorce from her second husband, Bob, while her past with her first husband, Adam, resurfaces due to new DNA and evidence in his murder case, the murder case that takes place in the first one. So new DNA evidence has resurfaced in this one, so that case kind of gets reopened all of these years later. The plot thickens as Bob's affair and the disappearance of his mistress intertwine with the reopened investigation, creating a high-stakes game of secrets, revenge, and manipulation. Very, very intriguing. I didn't think that it could get better than the first one, but it did. Number 7 is If It Makes You Happy by Julia Olivia. This was going all over Book Talk this fall, and everyone was saying that it is a Gilmore Girls-esque romance, and I wholeheartedly agree. The reason I love this one is it takes place in the 90s, kind of that era like Gilmore Girls. It's got that grumpy ex-sunshine, so you get bits and pieces of like a Luke and Lorelai, but things were changed. Like this was very much stand out on its own. The characters had character development. So yeah, there was just little sprinkles of hints that you could see where inspiration was taken from Gilmore Girls, but it wasn't trying to be Gilmore Girls, which is what I liked the most. But so this follows Michelle and Cliff. Michelle is taking over her mom's bed and breakfast after she had passed away in this small town, and Cliff lives next door to the B&B, and he knew her mom, did lots of things for her, so he kind of helps out every now and then. She's trying to navigate running this inn on her own. She's never done anything like this before. She's in advertising, I think, or something like that, and she only plans on working here and getting this back up and running until her sister graduates from college and can come and take over, and then she was going to go back to the city and go back to her job. But she realizes how great she actually is at this in the end, and she ends up staying. Plot twist. Not really, but... Number 6 is Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This is one of her YA romances, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It gave me a lot of like nostalgia from high school, but I just loved their dynamic. So it says, while moving to Omaha after her parents' sudden divorce, Bailey finds herself trapped for 10 hours with a cynical and obnoxiously opinionated stranger, the polar opposite of her careful, well-behaved, cheery temperament. So imagine her surprise when years later, Charlie turns out to be her coworker at her new job. But this time around, they find themselves talking comfortably and even laughing. Still, they agree they can't stand each other, and when they witness 2 of their coworkers flirting, Their commentary on the moment spirals into a bet. Charlie insists that members of the opposite sex can't be just friends, and Bailey is determined to prove him wrong. Amidst all their bickering and playful banter, Charlie works to deflect the feelings he's developed for Bailey. He is terrified to lose her if his crush becomes known, and what doesn't help his agenda is Bailey and Charlie fake dating in order to disrupt the annoying pleasantries between Bailey's mom and her new boyfriend. Soon, what Charlie was hoping to avoid becomes a reality, as Bailey starts to see him as not only a friend but someone who makes her hands shake and heart race. But Charlie has a secret that involves Bailey and another bet Charlie may have made. Can the two make a real go of things, or has Charlie's secret doomed them before they can start? So I just absolutely loved their dynamic with each other. It's so good. I might need to reread this one too. Now, getting into the top 5. Number 5 is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first one in the series. This follows the Hawthorne family. The granddad had just died, and they are very, very, very rich. So everyone assumed kind of what they were going to be getting out of like the will and everything, what was going to become theirs. And then in walks this girl who they had never heard of. She doesn't even know why she's there. And she ends up getting everything handed to her. And so it is this great mystery of why was she there? What does she have to do with anything? Why did he give everything to her? Lots of little puzzle pieces, lots of mysteries. It's like very layered mystery. Like one mystery kind of overlaps with another, and they're trying to solve all these and see how the puzzle fits together. So good. The whole series was so good. Number 4 is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. This is her first adult mystery thriller that came out this year. So this story follows the main character Jet, who was attacked on Halloween, and she ends up surviving, but that fatal hit to her head, it causes some brain trauma and injuries that it is soon to kill her. So she's kind of solving her own murder because she survived this, but she has a time crunch. So a very, very intriguing, very different take on a mystery that you are solving your own murder. But it was so good. Number 3 is Bottom of the Pyramid by Nia Sue from Dance Moms. This is a memoir for her life, her experience on and off Dance Moms. We kind of get a little behind the scenes of everything because Nia was the only one from the original group, the original group that lasted all throughout the entire run of Dance Moms, all 7 seasons. And towards the end, Abby was kind of a very terrible person to her. So we kind of see how everything played into that, her relationship with some of the girls now, her life now, what she's accomplished. But it was just extremely intriguing to see that behind the scenes that I even never knew. I'm a big Dance Moms fan, and I also listen to Christine Kelly's podcast, so I know a decent amount of what happened behind the scenes that they don't tell you. But this book dived deeper into what some other things I didn't know. So it was very, very good. Number 2 is Sunrise on the Reaping. This one is Haymitch's book about Haymitch's games. So good. I also cried. Again, with all of the connections that Suzanne Collins makes, was just so fabulous. Like, I feel like she had to have had this planned when she originally wrote the books, because there is just so many connections. There's no way that she just dreamt this up recently. But very excited for the movie to come out this coming November. Very excited, but also very impatient because I cannot wait to see that. So, and at the top of the list, number 1 is Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan. I just could not get enough of this book. This book follows Nora Hamilton, who is a screenwriter for a romance channel, and they're setting and filming at her house for this newest one that she just wrote, which is about her own failed marriage. She's newly divorced, has 2 kids, and they end up filming at her house. So the main character that plays her husband in the film is Leo, and she ends up getting to know him a little better. It leads to a very unexpected real life romance between the two. After filming is wrapped up, there's a lot of funny moments. There are moments that made me cry. The emotions were just everywhere, and I have not stopped thinking about it since I read it, and I read it a few months ago now. So those were my top 25 books of this year. Let me know what your favorite book is that you read this year, your top 5 thoughts on any of these books, book recommendations that I should read for next year. Comment anything like that down below. Very excited to see where 2026 brings us. So I'll see you all next time.